Human Trade Representative Owen Matthews stood outside the sealed chamber in the Velkari Royal Palace, trying to understand why he'd been summoned here with no explanation. He'd been on planet Cathara Prime for 2 weeks, negotiating agricultural trade agreements, routine diplomatic work that shouldn't involve being escorted by royal guards to a private wing of the palace typically reserved for family matters. "Administrator Matthews, you may enter," the guard said, his tone carrying formality that suggested this was significant even if Owen didn't understand why. Owen stepped through the door into an elegantly appointed chamber, clearly designed for private audiences rather than formal state business. Soft lighting, comfortable seating, and the kind of understated luxury that marked spaces meant for family rather than politics. At the center of the room stood a Velkari woman in formal attire that immediately marked her as high nobility, possibly royalty. She was tall with long pointed ears carrying ornate ceremonial jewelry, violet eyes that studied Owen with sharp assessment, and bearing that suggested someone accustomed to absolute authority. Beside her stood a young Velkari girl, perhaps 10 years old in human terms, wearing simpler clothing but carrying herself with the same dignified posture. Owen bowed respectfully, defaulting to diplomatic protocol even though he had no idea what this meeting was about. "Administrator Matthews, thank you for attending," the woman said, her standard carrying only slight accent. "I am High Counselor Vena of House Thessari. This is my daughter, Lissa." Before Owen could respond with appropriate diplomatic pleasantries, the girl's entire demeanor changed. Lissa stared at Owen with growing recognition, her eyes widening and her breath catching. Then she turned to her mother with expression carrying shock and absolute certainty. "Mother, it's him, it's him." Owen blinked, completely confused. He'd never met these people before, he was certain of it. He would have remembered meeting Velkari nobility, and definitely would have remembered meeting the daughter of a high counselor. Vena's expression shifted from formal neutrality to sharp attention. "Lissa, are you certain?" "Yes." "Mother, look." Lissa stepped forward, speaking quickly now, her words tumbling over each other with excitement. "It's the human from the market district, the one who helped me when I was lost, the one I've been trying to describe to you." Owen's confusion deepened for a moment. Then a memory surfaced, fragmented and vague, because it had seemed so unremarkable at the time. 3 months ago, during his first visit to Cathara Prime for preliminary trade discussions, Owen had spent a free afternoon exploring the market district. He'd noticed a young Velkari girl who seemed lost and frightened, standing alone near a crowded intersection while the flow of people moved past her. She'd been wearing simple, unremarkable clothing, nothing that suggested nobility or wealth. Just a scared kid who looked like she needed help. Owen had approached carefully, knelt to her level, and asked in his limited Velkari if she was okay and if she needed help finding her family. The girl had been too upset to speak clearly, but Owen had managed to understand that she'd gotten separated from her attendants during a market visit. He'd stayed with her, keeping her calm, sharing some food he'd bought from a nearby vendor, and helping her describe where she'd last seen her family so they could figure out where to go. It had taken maybe 30 minutes before a group of frantic Velkari adults, presumably the attendants she'd mentioned, had found them. They'd been profusely grateful, though there was something odd about their panic that Owen hadn't fully understood at the time. The girl had hugged Owen tightly before leaving with her attendants, but he'd never learned her name. The whole incident had seemed minor, just helping a lost kid, the kind of thing any decent person would do. "You remember," Lissa said, clearly reading the recognition dawning on Owen's face. "You stayed with me when I was scared. You shared your food with me. You didn't leave until you knew I was safe." Owen found his voice. Yes, I remember. You were lost in the market district, but I didn't know you were." He looked at Vena, understanding dawning. "I didn't know she was your daughter, High Counselor. She was just a kid who needed help." "Exactly," Vena said, her voice carrying weight that suggested this was significant. You did not know who she was. You did not know that helping her would gain you favor or political advantage. You simply helped because she needed help. She moved closer, studying Owen with new intensity. Do you understand what happened that day? My daughter was being targeted by political rivals who hoped to use her as leverage against me. Her attendants were deliberately separated from her through coordinated distraction. She was meant to be taken, held, used as bargaining piece in political maneuvering I will not detail here. Owen felt his stomach drop as he understood the implications. I had no idea. I just thought she'd gotten lost in the crowd. And that ignorance is precisely why your action matters, Vena said. You protected her without knowing the danger, without expecting reward, without calculating advantage. Among my people, such protection creates what we call Cathara, a bond of trust that cannot be broken or dismissed. When someone protects our children without expectation or knowledge of benefit, they are marked as guardian worthy of absolute trust. She looked at her daughter, whose eyes remained fixed on Owen with expression carrying something beyond simple gratitude, something like reverence. Lissa has spoken of you every day since that incident. She described you in such detail that our artists created portraits we've been using to search for you. She called you her kind human guardian, and insisted that you were the bravest person she'd ever met because you stayed with her even when you were clearly uncertain and uncomfortable in a foreign market. Vena paused. We have been searching for you for 3 months, Administrator Matthews, and now you walk into my palace for entirely unrelated reasons, and my daughter recognizes you immediately. Owen processed this, trying to reconcile the minor good deed he'd performed with the weight being placed on it now. High Counselor, I appreciate that you're grateful, but I just did what anyone should do when they see a child who needs help. I don't think I deserve this level of. You do not understand, Vena interrupted gently. Among Velkari, the Cathara bond is not merely gratitude. It is recognition that you can be trusted with what we value most. Our children. You proved that you will protect the vulnerable without calculating benefit. That makes you worthy of trust that we extend to very few outsiders. She gestured to seating, inviting Owen to sit with them, an informality that clearly carried significance given the formal setting. I have been seeking you to offer formal acknowledgement of the Cathara bond, which carries both honor and practical implications. You are now recognized as guardian friend to House Thessari. You may call upon our support in matters both personal and professional. You have our trust in ways that cannot be earned through diplomacy or negotiation. Lissa moved closer to Owen, her earlier excitement settling into something more composed but no less intense. You stayed with me when you could have left, she said quietly. You made me feel safe when I was very frightened. You didn't know I was High Counselor's daughter. You didn't know helping me would matter. You just helped. That's why Mother has been trying to find you, because that kind of kindness is rare. Owen looked between mother and daughter, understanding that this moment was reshaping his relationship with the Velkari in ways he hadn't anticipated. I'm honored by this recognition, Owen said carefully, but I need you to understand I didn't do anything special. I just saw someone who needed help and helped them. That's not extraordinary, that's just basic human decency. And that is precisely why the Cathara bond matters, Vena responded. Because what you consider basic decency, we recognize as character worth honoring. Many would have calculated risk before helping a strange child. Many would have sought to learn her identity before committing time to her welfare. You did neither. You simply acted from compassion without strategy. She extended her hand in formal gesture. The agricultural trade agreements you came to negotiate are, as of this moment, approved with favorable terms for both our peoples. This is not payment for protecting Lissa. The Cathara bond cannot be repaid with commercial advantage. But it does mean you negotiate now with the full trust of House Thessari, which carries weight in our political structure. Vena's expression softened slightly. You saved my daughter from those who would have used her for political leverage. You did so unknowingly, which makes the act more valuable, not less. Accept this bond, Administrator Matthews. You have earned it through simple kindness that you yourself do not recognize as remarkable, and that very modesty is part of why you deserve this recognition. Over the following weeks, Owen's negotiations with the Velkari proceeded with surprising ease. Doors that had been merely polite now opened with genuine welcome. Officials who had been carefully neutral now offered active cooperation. And through it all, Lissa made sure to visit whenever Owen was at the palace, treating him with affection that was both touching and slightly overwhelming. She told anyone who would listen about the human who stayed when he could have left, who shared his food when she was upset, who made her feel safe when she was scared. When Owen's assignment on Cathara Prime concluded and he prepared to return to Earth, Vena hosted a private farewell dinner. You changed our relationship with humanity, Vena told him. Not through policy or treaties, but through a simple act of staying with a frightened child. That is worth more than any diplomatic maneuvering. Lissa gave Owen a small carved pendant, traditional Velkari craftsmanship depicting a guardian figure with a child. So you don't forget, she said quietly, that you're my guardian friend, that you stayed when others might have left, that you're someone I trust completely because you earned that trust before you knew it mattered. Owen accepted the pendant with genuine emotion, understanding that what he'd considered a minor good deed had reshaped not just his diplomatic work, but created a bond that would endure far beyond his time on Cathara Prime. Some bonds are forged through careful diplomacy and strategic alliance, some through shared hardship and mutual benefit, and some are created in 30 minutes in a crowded market, when someone chooses to help a frightened child without knowing who she is or expecting any reward.